The discovery. The quantum scanner's display pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm, its readings defying everything Dr. Sarah Chen thought she knew about physics. She had expected to find normal background radiation during her routine scan of deep space. Instead, she found something that would change humanity's destiny forever. The signal was unlike anything ever recorded, a perfectly ordered quantum pattern that couldn't have occurred naturally. Someone, or something, was out there, and they were using technology far beyond human understanding. Director Walsh, you need to see this. Sarah's voice trembled as she spoke into her comm unit. The implications of her discovery were staggering. If this signal was artificial, it meant humanity wasn't alone in the universe. More importantly, whoever sent it had mastered quantum mechanics at a level that made Earth's greatest achievements look primitive. James Walsh arrived at the observatory within the hour, his usually composed face showing rare signs of agitation. As head of the Global Space Research Initiative, he had seen countless anomalies over the years. But one look at Sarah's data made him reach for his secure phone. Get me the Secretary General. Priority Alpha. Within 24 hours, the world's leading scientists and military strategists were gathered in an underground facility beneath Geneva. Sarah stood before them, explaining her discovery with carefully chosen words. The signal appears to be part of a vast communication network, she explained, pointing to the complex patterns on the display. But what's truly remarkable is how it travels. It's not bound by normal space-time limitations. The information transfer is instantaneous, regardless of distance. The military leaders leaned forward as Admiral Chen, Sarah's father and head of Earth's combined defense force, spoke up. Could this network be used for weapons targeting? Communications jamming? Sarah met her father's eyes. Theoretically, yes. But we'd need to understand it first. Right now, we can only detect it, not interact with it. The discussion was interrupted by a blinding flash of light in the center of the room. Where empty space had been moments before, a tall figure now stood. Its body seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, and its voice echoed in their minds rather than their ears. Your species has progressed faster than anticipated, the being stated. You have detected our quantum network. This advances the timeline. Guards raised their weapons, but the being seemed to exist in multiple locations simultaneously, making any attempt at targeting futile. I am an emissary of the hegemony. We have guided the development of countless species across the galaxy. Some are deemed worthy of elevation. Others, the beam's form rippled. Others require correction. Secretary General Rivera stood, her voice steady despite the situation. And which category have you placed humanity in? That depends on your choice. Submit to hegemony guidance, surrender your scientific and military autonomy, and you will be elevated, eventually. Resist, and you will be corrected. You have 14 Earth days to decide. The beam vanished, leaving behind only a small crystalline cube floating in the air, a communication device, they would later learn. As chaos erupted in the room, Sarah noticed her father sitting quietly, a familiar look in his eyes. It was the same expression he had worn years ago, when her mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, a look of absolute refusal to accept what seemed inevitable. Dr. Chen, he said, using her title rather than daughter in this professional setting. How close are you to understanding the principles behind their quantum network? Sarah thought about the patterns she had detected, the impossible mathematics that had kept her awake for the past 3 nights. With the right team, the right resources, maybe 6 months to grasp the basics. The hegemony gave us 14 days, Secretary Rivera reminded them. Admiral Chen stood. Then we'll have to make them think we're complying while we work on a solution. Sarah, you said their network isn't bound by normal space-time limitations. Could that principle be applied to more than just communications? Sarah's eyes widened as she grasped her father's implication. You're thinking about ships, weapons. If we could understand and apply these principles to our technology. She paused, running calculations in her head. We'd need to establish a secret research facility. Somewhere they couldn't detect our work. The Marianas facility, Director Walsh suggested. It's 13 kilometers under the Pacific, built inside a natural cavern system. The surrounding rock contains rare earth elements that interfere with most scanning technologies. Secretary Rivera looked around the room. If we do this, if we resist, we're gambling with the survival of our entire species. We're gambling with our species either way, Admiral Chen replied. At least this way, we're betting on ourselves. The next 14 days saw the greatest mobilization of scientific and military resources in human history, all conducted under absolute secrecy. On the surface, Earth's governments prepared documents of submission to the hegemony. Underground, Project Silent Edge was born. Sarah found herself working alongside the brightest minds humanity had to offer, all racing against time to understand and weaponize principles of physics that seemed to defy reality itself. The crystalline cube left behind by the hegemony emissary proved to be both a blessing and a curse. It provided insights into their technology, but also served as a monitoring device, forcing them to maintain elaborate deceptions. The day the hegemony returned, Earth's leaders presented their formal submission with all the expected ceremony. The emissary seemed pleased, not noticing, or perhaps not caring about, the subtle defiance in their eyes. After all, what harm could one primitive species do to an empire that spanned the galaxy? But in the depths of the ocean, humanity's true response was taking shape. Project Silent Edge would prove that the hegemony had made a fatal mistake. They had given humanity just enough knowledge to be dangerous, and more than enough motivation to use it. The resistance, the first sign that something was wrong, came 3 months after Earth's official submission to the hegemony. A routine inspection of Earth's lunar mining facilities revealed production numbers that didn't quite add up. The hegemony overseer, a being of crystalline thought and absolute precision, noted the discrepancy for investigation. By the time the investigation began, however, the evidence had vanished, along with several tons of rare earth elements. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display of quantum field equations. The stolen materials had arrived, and they were worth every risk taken to acquire them. The Marianas facility had grown into a sprawling complex of laboratories and manufacturing centers, all hidden from the hegemony's watchful eyes by a combination of natural shielding and revolutionary quantum masking technology. The latest test results are promising, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the team's quantum engineering specialist, reported. We've achieved 98% signal suppression across all monitored frequencies. Sarah nodded, studying the data streams. What had started as a simple communication detection project had evolved into something far more ambitious. They weren't just learning to hide from the hegemony's quantum network, they were learning to manipulate it. "How are the prototype ships progressing?" she asked. "The first 3 vessels are ready for testing," Admiral Chen answered, entering the laboratory. "Small craft, barely larger than fighter jets, but if your theories are correct, they'll be invisible to every detection system the hegemony has," Sarah finished. "And more importantly, they'll be able to use the quantum network against them." The breakthrough had come 2 months earlier, when Sarah's team discovered that the hegemony's quantum network wasn't just a communication system. It was the foundation of their entire technological civilization. Their ships, weapons, even their seemingly magical ability to appear and disappear at will, all relied on the same quantum principles. Understanding this had led to humanity's first real advantage. If they could interfere with the network, they could potentially disable hegemony technology altogether. The resistance wasn't limited to the Marianas facility. All across Earth, hidden groups were preparing. The hegemony's occupation had been surprisingly light. They seemed to view humanity as so primitive that strict control was unnecessary. This arrogance would prove to be their weakness. In orbit, hegemony ships maintained their watch over Earth, their crews unaware that humans had already infiltrated their quantum network. Every transmission, every status report, Every tactical update was being monitored and analyzed by Sarah's team. They're planning to establish a permanent base on Mars, Admiral Chen reported, bringing up a tactical display. They see it as the next step in our species-guided development. Sarah smiled. Perfect. That gives us our testing ground. The plan was audacious. While the hegemony focused on Mars, the prototype ships would make their first real-world test flights. If they succeeded, humanity would have proof that their quantum stealth technology worked. If they failed, well, the hegemony would simply attribute any destroyed ships to testing accidents. The day of the test arrived with tense anticipation. 3 ships, designated Shadow 1, 2, and 3, launched from underwater bays into the deep Pacific. Their hulls were covered in quantum absorption material, their systems running on principles that merged human innovation with stolen hegemony science. Sarah stood in the control center, watching as the ships rose through the water. The moment they broke the surface would be critical. Would the hegemony detect them? Shadow Squadron, maintain radio silence. Admiral Chen ordered. Proceed to test coordinates. On screens around the control room, they watched through quantum-shielded cameras as the 3 ships soared into the night sky. They passed within kilometers of a hegemony patrol vessel, but the alien ship showed no sign of detecting them. First phase successful, Yuki reported, monitoring the quantum field readings. They don't see us. The real test came next. Shadow 1 approached an automated hegemony satellite, extending a probe designed to interface with the quantum network. If Sarah's theories were correct, they would be able to not just hide from the network, but manipulate it. Connection established. The pilot's voice came through on a secure channel, beginning data extraction. For 5 tense minutes, they watched as Shadow Squadron performed their mission. They not only remained undetected but successfully extracted detailed technical data from the hegemony's own systems. When the ships returned to the Marianas facility, the celebration was silent but heartfelt. Humanity had just proven they could fight back. How soon can we scale up production? Admiral Chen asked during the debriefing. With the materials we have, we can build 20 more ships this size within 2 months, Sarah answered. But we'll need something bigger for actual combat operations. We'll get you what you need, her father promised. The lunar mining operation was just the beginning. We have people inside their facilities now, learning their technologies, gathering resources. The resistance was growing. Across Earth, more secret facilities were being established. The hegemony's own quantum network was being turned into humanity's greatest intelligence-gathering tool. But time was not on their side. They're accelerating their plans, Sarah reported, studying the latest intercepted communications. The Mars base is just the first step. They're planning to begin population optimization within the year. Everyone knew what that meant. The hegemony's version of elevation often involved extensive genetic and cybernetic modification of subject species, whether they wanted it or not. Then we move up our timeline, Admiral Chen decided. We've proven the technology works. Now we need to show them why they should have never underestimated humanity. The counter-strike. The hegemony never saw the first strike coming. Their quantum network, which had served as the foundation of their power for millennia, betrayed them in an instant. Across the solar system, their surveillance systems went dark, their ships lost communication, and their seemingly invincible technology simply stopped working. Operation Blackout is successful, Yuki reported, her fingers dancing across holographic controls in the Marianas Command Center. All hegemony systems within the solar system are experiencing cascading quantum field disruptions. Sarah watched the tactical displays with a mixture of pride and anxiety. The quantum disruption technology they developed worked even better than expected, but they had to move fast. The hegemony would adapt. They always did. Launch the fleet, Admiral Chen ordered. Across Earth's oceans, hidden shipyards activated. The Resistance had spent months building their forces in secret, using the stolen quantum technology to create vessels that could match and exceed hegemony capabilities. Now, over 100 ships of varying sizes rose from the waters, their quantum-enhanced hulls completely invisible to conventional detection. The largest of these ships, the ESS Prometheus, emerged from the Marianas facility itself. Nearly a kilometer long, it represented humanity's greatest achievement, a perfect fusion of human innovation and adapted hegemony technology. Sarah stood on the Prometheus's bridge alongside her father. The ship's quantum core hummed with power, its advanced systems providing them with a god's-eye view of the battle about to unfold. "All ships report ready," Captain Maria Rodriguez announced from her command station. "The hegemony fleet is still blind and disorganized." "Begin Phase 2, Admiral Chen ordered. The human fleet split into predetermined attack groups, each targeting specific hegemony installations and vessels. The Prometheus led the main assault force toward the largest concentration of enemy ships near Mars. The battle that followed would later be known as the liberation of Mars. Hegemony vessels, their quantum systems disrupted, found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't detect until it was too late. Human ships phased in and out of normal space, using the quantum network in ways the hegemony had never imagined possible. Multiple hegemony capital ships disabled, Yuki reported. Their conventional weapons are online, but without quantum targeting, their accuracy is minimal. The Prometheus shuddered as it absorbed a lucky hit from a hegemony dreadnought. "Shields holding at 92%, Rodriguez reported. "Our quantum absorption systems are working perfectly." Sarah monitored the battle through quantum-enhanced sensors. The hegemony ships were attempting to re-establish their network, trying to adapt to the disruption. She had expected this. "They're attempting to reconfigure their quantum signatures," she announced, implementing countermeasure sequence alpha. New equations flowed through the human fleet's quantum cores, changing the nature of their disruption field. Just as the hegemony ships began to recover, their systems crashed again. "Hegemony flagship is hailing us," Rodriguez reported. "They're using primitive radio signals." "Put them through," Admiral Chen ordered. The voice that came through was no longer the confident, almost dismissive tone they were used to from hegemony communications. "This is impossible," the hegemony commander stated. "You are a primitive species. You cannot comprehend, let alone manipulate, quantum mechanics at this level." "You gave us the keys to your kingdom," Admiral Chen replied. "Did you think we wouldn't learn to use them?" The battle continued for several hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Without their quantum advantage, the hegemony forces found themselves facing an enemy that had spent centuries perfecting conventional warfare while simultaneously mastering their advanced technology. By the time the last hegemony ship surrendered, humanity had secured complete control of the solar system. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. "They'll be sending reinforcements," she warned during the post-battle briefing. "The quantum disruption field won't work the same way twice. They'll have developed countermeasures. Then we'll need to be ready with something new," Admiral Chen replied. "How long until the quantum gate is operational?" Sarah brought up a holographic display of the massive structure being built in secret beyond Jupiter's orbit. 3 weeks. "But Dad, using it is a huge risk. We'll be jumping into the heart of hegemony space. We've already found their weakness," he reminded her. "Their entire civilization depends on the quantum network. They've never needed to develop alternatives because nothing has ever threatened it before." "Until now," Sarah finished. She studied the tactical displays showing the aftermath of their victory. Disabled hegemony ships were being boarded by human crews, their technology being analyzed and adapted even as they spoke. But something else had been discovered during the battle, something that changed everything. "Show them," Sarah told Yuki. The quantum engineer brought up a new display, showing communications intercepted during the battle. "We found these in their emergency transmissions. They're not just calling for military reinforcements. They're warning about other subject species in their empire, species they think might follow our example." Admiral Chen leaned forward, studying the data. "How many?" "At least 30 spacefaring civilizations under hegemony control," Yuki answered. "All of them watched what happened here today. All of them saw the hegemony bleed. A plan began to form. The quantum gate wasn't just a way to strike at the hegemony. It was a way to reach these other species, to show them that resistance was possible. "We'll need to move fast," Sarah said. "The hegemony will be fortifying their core systems, preparing for our next move." "Then let's give them something to prepare for," Admiral Chen smiled, "while we take our real fight elsewhere." The Alliance. The quantum gate activated with a flash of impossible light, tearing a hole through the fabric of space-time. The ESS Prometheus led a fleet of 30 ships through the portal, emerging in a system that had never seen human vessels before. The Centauri system, home to one of the hegemony's oldest subject races, was heavily defended. But the defenders weren't firing. Instead, their ships held position, broadcasting a simple message on all frequencies: "We have been waiting." Sarah stood on the Prometheus's bridge, studying the alien vessels with a mix of curiosity and caution. The Centaurians had been under hegemony control for over 10,000 years, their once proud civilization reduced to serving as administrators and technicians for their conquerors. "They're sending a delegation," Captain Rodriguez reported. "Small transport, minimal weapons. They're requesting permission to dock." Admiral Chen nodded. "Granted, but maintain quantum disruption fields at ready status." The Centaurian delegates were tall, ethereal beings with translucent skin that seemed to shimmer with internal light. Their leader, who introduced herself as first speaker Lyra, got straight to the point. "We saw what you did in the Sol system," she said, her words translated by advanced quantum algorithms. "You did what we thought impossible. You broke their control of the network." "And we can show you how," Sarah replied. "Your people understand quantum mechanics far better than we do. With your knowledge and our innovations, we can free everyone." Lyra finished. Her inner light pulsed with intensity. "But you should know, the hegemony's response to your rebellion has been severe. They're implementing contingency protocols we've never seen before." The news was concerning but not unexpected. Intelligence gathered from captured hegemony ships had revealed the existence of weapons platforms hidden throughout their territory, fail-safes against exactly this type of uprising. "Show us everything you know," Admiral Chen requested, "and we'll show you everything we've learned." Over the next few weeks, the alliance grew. The Centaurians brought in other subject species, the warrior engineers of the Volus Collective, the quantum-sensitive Meridian Consciousness, and dozens more. Each brought their own knowledge, their own technologies, their own reasons for wanting freedom. The Marianas facility was expanded to accommodate representatives from every species, becoming a center of unprecedented technological and cultural exchange. Sarah found herself working alongside minds that approached problems in ways she had never imagined possible. "The hegemony didn't just conquer us," Lyra explained during one session. "They deliberately kept us separate, preventing any species from advancing too far. But they never imagined we would all work together." The combined knowledge of 30 species, each with their own understanding of quantum mechanics, led to breakthroughs that would have taken centuries to achieve alone. The human quantum disruption technology was refined and enhanced, while new weapons and defenses were developed. But time was running out. The hegemony had withdrawn to their core systems, activating ancient defense systems and gathering their forces. Their response would be apocalyptic. They would rather destroy their entire empire than lose control of it. "We've detected massive energy signatures from their capital system," Yuki reported during an emergency briefing. "They're activating something called the Quantum Nexus." The Centaurian representatives visibly recoiled at the name. "The Nexus is a myth," Lyra whispered. "A theoretical weapon that could rewrite the quantum structure of space itself." "Not a myth," Sarah corrected, studying the data, "but also not unstoppable. Look at these patterns. They're drawing power from every quantum node in their territory. If we can disrupt even a few key nodes, we can cascade the disruption through their entire network," a Volus engineer finished. "But the targeted nodes would have to be hit simultaneously, with perfect timing." Admiral Chen studied the tactical displays showing the distribution of Allied forces. How many targets? 7, Sarah answered. Spread across 5 systems. We'll need to split our forces, hit them all at once, and hold them long enough for the cascade to take effect. And if we fail? Rodriguez asked. Then the hegemony rewrites the quantum laws of this sector of space, Lyra said grimly. Everything we know about physics, everything we've built our technologies on, would cease to function. Billions would die as planetary atmospheres collapse and stars destabilize. The room fell silent as the magnitude of the situation sank in. This wasn't just about freedom anymore. It was about survival. How long do we have? Admiral Chen asked. The Nexus will be fully powered in 72 hours, Yuki reported. Admiral Chen stood, his voice firm. Then we have 71 hours to prepare. This ends now, one way or another. The reckoning. The combined fleet dropped out of quantum space in perfect synchronization, 7 battle groups appearing simultaneously across 5 star systems. The ESS Prometheus led the largest group toward the primary target, the massive quantum node orbiting the hegemony capital world. All groups report ready, Captain Rodriguez announced. Quantum disruption fields at maximum power. Sarah stood at her station, monitoring the complicated web of calculations that would determine the success or failure of their mission. Around her, human crew members worked alongside representatives from a dozen different species, each contributing their unique expertise. Hegemony forces detected, Yuki reported. Massive fleet movements at all target locations. The enemy response was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of ships emerged from quantum space, surrounding each battle group. But this time, the hegemony wasn't interested in communication or demands for surrender. Multiple quantum weapon signatures detected, a Meridian sensor operator announced. They're not trying to disable us. They're going for total destruction. They're scared, Admiral Chen observed. For the first time in their history, they face an enemy they can't control. Execute attack pattern Delta. The Allied fleet split apart, each ship moving in seemingly random patterns that were actually calculated to create overlapping disruption fields. Hegemony weapons fire passed through empty space as vessels shifted in and out of normal space at time. Node 1 is within range, Rodriguez reported. Beginning approach. The Prometheus surged forward, leading its battle group toward the massive structure that powered the hegemony's quantum network. Similar scenes played out across the other target systems as Allied forces pressed their attack. Energy spiked from the capital. Yuki shouted. They're starting the Nexus early. Sarah's hands flew across her controls, adapting their disruption patterns. They're trying to beat us to the punch. How long until full power? 20 minutes at current rate, Lyra answered from her station. We won't have time to hit all 7 nodes. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the chaos. New plan. All forces concentrate on the primary node. We go for their heart. The order went out, and across 5 systems, Allied ships began quantum jumping to their position. The hegemony, realizing their intentions, did the same. Within minutes, the space around the primary node had become the site of the largest space battle in galactic history. Multiple hits on decks 12 through 15, Rodriguez reported as the Prometheus shuddered under enemy fire. Shields at 60%. Keep us on course, Admiral Chen ordered. Everything depends on reaching that node. Sarah watched as ships on both sides were destroyed, their quantum cores detonating in silent flashes of impossible light. The hegemony was fighting with desperate fury, but the Allies had something they didn't. True unity of purpose. Nexus power at 70%, Yuki announced. 15 minutes to activation. The Prometheus pushed forward, its quantum disruption field at maximum power. Supporting ships moved in precise formation, creating a corridor through the chaos of battle. We're detecting a change in the node's energy pattern, Sarah reported, studying her readings. Wait, this isn't just a power node. It's a door, Lyra finished, her inner light pulsing with recognition. The hegemony didn't evolve naturally. They came from somewhere else. The nodes aren't just power sources. They're anchor points, keeping them in our reality. The revelation hit Sarah like a physical force. That's why they're so scared. If we destroy the nodes, we don't just defeat them, Admiral Chen said. We send them back where they came from. The Prometheus rocked with another hit. Shields critical. Rodriguez shouted, "We can't take much more of this." "We don't need to," Sarah replied, her fingers dancing across her controls. "Dad, I need control of all remaining power. I have an idea." Admiral Chen nodded. "Do it." Sarah redirected every scrap of energy from weapons, from life support, from everything except basic flight systems, into the quantum disruption field. But instead of using it as a weapon, she tuned it to match the node's frequency. "All ships, maintain your positions," she ordered. "But drop your disruption fields. Route all power to shields." "What are you doing?" Lyra asked. "Fighting fire with fire," Sarah answered. "They want to rewrite quantum physics. Let's help them." The Prometheus's disruption field merged with the node's energy pattern, creating a feedback loop that grew exponentially. The massive structure began to pulse with increasingly bright light. "Nexus at 90%, Yuki shouted. 5 minutes to activation." "It won't take that long," Sarah said quietly. The node's pulsing reached a crescendo. For a moment, reality itself seemed to bend around them. Then, with a silent flash that lit up the system like a second sun, the node collapsed in on itself. The effect rippled outward at quantum speeds. Hegemony ships began to fade from existence, their crews having just enough time to realize what was happening. The other nodes across the empire collapsed in a cascade of dimensional energy. When it was over, the hegemony was gone. Not destroyed, simply gone, returned to whatever reality they had originally come from. In their place, they left behind billions of freed beings across thousands of worlds. "All hegemony signatures have vanished from our space," Yuki reported, her voice filled with awe. "The quantum network, it's different now. Stable, natural. Because it's ours now," Lyra said. "All of ours, together." Admiral Chen turned to Sarah. "Casualty reports are coming in. We lost a lot of good people today." Sarah nodded sadly. "But we won. Not just freedom, but a future. A chance to build something new." The aftermath would keep them busy for years. 30 species, thousands of worlds, all learning to work together without the hegemony's control. But they had something the hegemony never understood: the strength that comes from true cooperation, from respecting and learning from their differences rather than trying to control them. As the Prometheus began its journey home, Sarah looked out at the stars. They seemed brighter somehow, full of possibility. Humanity had not only survived its first contact with a hostile galaxy, it had helped forge a new alliance that would shape the future of multiple civilizations. The quantum network, once a tool of oppression, would become the foundation of a new era of exploration and discovery. And it had all started because humans, faced with impossible odds, had simply refused to submit. "So," Admiral Chen asked, standing beside his daughter, "what do we do next?" Sarah smiled. "Everything."